it's me, Terra.
Today, we are going to talk about quote-unquote ancient furries. Now, the reason why I say quote-unquote in the beginning is because back then, our current modern-day understanding of a furry, as well as the furry fandom, did not exist. Our current modern-day understanding of a furry and the furry fandom emerged during the 70s, and as far as I am aware, at its oldest during the 60s, although I think the 70s would be more accurate. So ancient furries didn't truly exist, at least not in the same way that we think what a furry is in the modern day. The main reason why we're going to talk about this, and the main point I'm going to make, is that considering how much of an interest us humans have had in anthropomorphized animals for pretty much like the longest time ever, the furry fandom was probably something that was, practically speaking, destined to eventually emerge. Obviously, it may have looked nothing like what it does today in a different version, well, different timeline and version of the furry fandom, but you would end up with either the equivalent of, or something that is very similar to the furry fandom.
Us humans have been turning animals into people for thousands of years now. Before the internet, before animation, and before writing in some cases. Long before fursuits, there were literal gods with animal heads. Talking foxes, heroic wolves, and sacred cats, like in ancient Egypt. Now, anthropomorphism, in its most simple form, is giving human traits to non-human things, which includes animals, objects, nature, and to a certain extent, even abstract ideas.
The very oldest known anthropomorphic artwork is one of a lion. Well, a lion man. Some do argue that it's a different animal and not a lion, but you know, for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna go ahead and call it a lion. The Lion Man statue, which was around during the damn Stone Age.
Examples that we all know, for example, would be something like, my computer hates me today because it's just not working. Or the wind is raging, which, you know, is a wind. It can't feel emotions, so it can't rage. Now, we don't just do this for fun. It's how our brains naturally try to understand the world to a certain extent, especially in the primitive years. Us humans have evolved to read faces, emotions, and intentions extremely well. Well, for the most part. We are pattern-seeking creatures by nature, and this leads directly into history. Anthropomorphic animals are not a new thing. They have been around for centuries now. Ancient Egypt, for example. Gods were very literal human-animal hybrids for the most part. Anubis, a jackal-headed god of the dead. Bastet, a cat goddess of protection. Horus, a falcon-headed sky god. And even in this current time period, we still see anthropomorphism being used for things that are more serious than just cartoons or media. Things that are as serious as religious beliefs. Like, for example, Hinduism. In India, they still have anthropomorphic deities. Ancient Greece and Rome also practiced this. The Greeks had the myth of centaurs, satyrs, minotaurs, werewolves. Why? Because animals represented human instincts for most of time, or certain emotions and certain things, such as strength, wildness, freedom, fear, lust, rage. These myths explored the ideas that humans are a part civilized, yet also part wild creature, which may sound rather familiar to a lot of you. That theme has never left storytelling. Indigenous and tribal cultures also engage in anthropomorphism very often. Across the world, many cultures believed in animals that have spirits and, to a certain extent, personalities. Native American stories, African folklore, Asian mythology, Turkic mythology. Talking animals weren't just kid stories, they were moral stories and spiritual lessons. The idea that animals think and feel the same way that a human does, which helps a lot when it comes to trying to understand the story. Medieval early stories also possessed anthropomorphism. In Aesop's fables, you had talking foxes, clever crows, greedy wolves. Animals were used to teach moral lessons about human behavior for children.
Ice Age teach a powerful lesson as well as idea. Your past does not lock your future. You can change for the better and you can grow. The second most important lesson that it taught me is that courage is helping others, even when it is admittedly difficult. Returning the human baby is dangerous. It slows them down, it puts them at risk, and they gain nothing from it. Yet they do it anyway. Why? Because helping someone vulnerable is simply the right thing to do. And that is how Ice Age showed me when I was a kid that kindness is a form of bravery.
Now, of course, there is a good question, which is, why animals? Well, because it lets us talk about human flaws rather safely. Because it's easier to say the greedy wolf learned a lesson than the selfish and greedy human bastard got what he deserved. Obviously, you can't exactly tell that to the kid, so you have to say the same thing, but more appropriately. So you go with a story. Oh, it was a greedy wolf that had to learn a lesson the hard way because he was greedy, and that's why you should not be greedy. So anthropomorphic animals became storytelling tools, and the world pretty much loved them. And modern media ended up just exploding what was already present. If we jump over to the 90s, animations, Disney, cartoons, comics, mascots, and suddenly you start to get Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny, Robin Hood, the Fox version, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Sonic the Hedgehog, Pokemon, Zootopia. Entire generations grew up surrounded by animal characters with personality, emotions, relationships, and struggles. So kids didn't invent anthropomorphic fanfiction. They were literally raised on it. And when the internet came to be, that's when pretty much everything just escalated to the max. Before the internet, people who loved anthropomorphic characters were rather isolated because, well, how are you supposed to find somebody else that also loves anthropomorphic characters like you do? But then the internet came to be, and suddenly, hundreds of people are able to find each other via forums. Oh hey, I also like anthropomorphic characters. Wait, you do? No way, we should meet up sometime. Eventually leading to fur meets, and eventually leading to the first FurCon. So the furry fandom didn't just appear out of nowhere necessarily. It pretty much appeared when people who already loved anthropomorphic characters finally found each other and realized that, oh hey, there are actually a decent chunk of us around. It was a community beginning to form, rather than a trend appearing only to disappear at some point. This is why I would argue that the furry fandom was pretty much inevitable.
I am inevitable.
Almost destined to exist at some point. Maybe not the exact same furry fandom that we have today, of course, maybe not. But something adjacent to it would eventually end up happening, one way or another. Because again, us humans, well, we just love anthropomorphic characters. We've been creating endless amounts of anthropomorphic stories for thousands of years. Realistically, the furry fandom isn't just an anomaly, it's just history repeating itself, except with Wi-Fi this time. For me personally, I grew up with The Lion King, Madagascar, Ice Age, Garfield, and more. And by the examples that I gave you, you can already see where my love for felines happens to come from. And that's going to be about it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again later. I'm also working on a roadmap for the channel so that you, the audience, know where the channel is headed at the moment. Goodbye!